Hello all, in this particular tutorial we will learn how to set up recovery catalog in Oracle 19c. What is recovery catalog? Recovery catalog is a database schema used by RMAN to store metadata about one or more Oracle databases. Typically, you store the recovery catalog in a dedicated database. Recovery catalog creates a second copy of RMAN repository stored in the control file of each target database. If the target control file and all backups are lost, then the RMAN metadata still exists in the recovery catalog. Let me explain this in a detail. So basically, recovery catalog is nothing but a database schema. And as you know, you can create database schema in any of your existing Oracle databases, which means that you can configure your existing database as a recovery catalog database as well. However, you should use a dedicated database as a recovery catalog. You should not use your existing database. And recovery catalog is nothing but a second copy of RMAN repository data which is stored in the control file. So whatever is in the control file that gets copied to the recovery catalog. Advantages of this is that if your control files are lost, if your target control files are lost, and then you will still be able to recover your database using the recovery catalog if the backup information is stored in the recovery catalog. So this is one of the most, it's like a second copy, it's like a duplicate of your RMAN repository data. So control file is lost, you can still recover your database. Let's understand the differences between how RMAN repository data is stored in the control file. So basically in the control file, this is the default. Whenever you take the RMAN backup, automatically the control file gets updated about that particular information. So that particular, and as you know, the control file is created whenever you create a database, automatically the control file is created, which means that no additional configuration is needed. So the RMAN repository data, it is stored by default in control file and no additional configuration is needed. However, in case of recovery catalog, additional configuration is needed. It replicates or syncs control file data, can store more backup history, very important, can store data for multiple Oracle databases. So one recovery catalog can store data for multiple Oracle databases, can store RMAN scripts and provides more protection. Why does it provide more protection? Because even if your control file is lost, you will still be able to recover your database and hence it provides more protection. What are the reasons to use recovery catalog? A recovery catalog can store more historical information than the control file. So it can store more historical information, allows you to use RMAN stored scripts. It allows you to generate backup reports for all Oracle databases registered with recovery catalog. So let's say you have 100 Oracle databases, and if you want to get the backup information, you will have to connect to each and every database. If you have registered those databases in the recovery catalog, then you don't have to connect to every database to find the backup information. You can run one single query in the recovery catalog and you can generate the backup report. Find the information about data files and table space at any given point in time. So you can find information how, if some reason you deleted the table space or a data file and you want to know how your database was at a particular point in time, you can find that information using the recovery catalog, and allows to restore and recover the loss of control file. Very important. Even if you lose the control file, it will allow you to restore your control file using the information which is present in the recovery catalog. Now that we have seen the use cases of recovery catalog, let's understand how to create the recovery catalog. There are 3 steps. Configure recovery catalog database, nothing but create table space, create recovery catalog owner, a user which will be the recovery catalog owner, and create recovery catalog. So using the RMAN, you'll run the command create catalog. So let's understand these steps in detail. So create a dedicated table space. So create a table space. You can use any existing table space, but it is always better to create a dedicated table space. Then create a user, which will be the recovery catalog owner. Then set the default table space for this user. Whatever table space that you have created, set the default table space for this user and provide unlimited quota on this table space to the user. Grant recovery catalog owner role to the user. Just one role is enough. You don't have to grant the connect, create resource, etc., etc., because This particular role will give all of those permissions and then finally connect via RMAN and run create catalog. So let's understand the steps. Create dedicated table space, create user, grant recovery catalog owner, and finally using RMAN create catalog. So the steps would be, first thing we'll do is like we'll create a table space. This table space can be of your choice, whatever table space that you want to create a table space. Start with a small table space. It doesn't need a lot of data. Start with a small table space. Once you have created a table space, create a user again of your choice, whatever name you want to give to this user you can give. Create a user and the table space, grant that table space as a default and give unlimited quota on that particular table space. And finally, grant recovery catalog owner to that particular user. Only one permission, recovery catalog owner, is enough. You don't have to give the create session, resource, etc. All of the other privileges are not required. This particular single privilege will allow this particular user to connect to the database and perform its activity. Now, to create, this is at the database level. Finally, we will connect to the RMAN, and when we connect to the RMAN, we will connect as the catalog. So we'll say catalog, we'll give the user, the catalog owner user, the password of that user at the database which we have set up for the recovery catalog, and we will run create catalog command. This particular command actually creates the catalog, recovery catalog schema. This is the final command which creates the catalog in the database. Once you have created the catalog, we can now register database in the recovery catalog. What does registering the database in recovery catalog means? It actually creates a row in recovery catalog table for the target database. It copies the data from target database control file to the recovery catalog tables, and it synchronizes the recovery catalog with the control file. So when you register a database, it actually creates the rows in the it creates the rows in the target database, and it whatever is the information present in the control file, it gets copied to the recovery catalog. And how do you do that? So you will connect to the target database, whichever database you want to register, you will connect to that particular target database, and at the same time you will connect to the catalog as well. And once you connect to the catalog, then finally you will say register database. This particular register database will register this particular target database in the catalog database. Now, if you don't catalog, if you connect to this particular, if you run this particular syntax and you try to take the backup, it will not work because the catalog is not, you have not registered that particular database. So first thing that you need to do is you need to register the database. If you want to unregister the database, exactly same syntax. However, instead of register database, you will say unregistered database. So you will connect to the target database and catalog database at the same time, and you will unregister database. This removes information about the target database from the recovery catalog. So this particular will remove and use this when you no longer want the target database to be defined in the recovery catalog. Now, if you want to, let's say you connected to if you take the backup without connecting to the RMAN catalog, or the catalog was not available at any point in time, and you took the backup and you want to update the catalog information if you want to update that RMAN backup information in the catalog, then you can connect to the catalog at a later point in time, and you can say Resync catalog, which will update the backup information or the repository data in the control file to the recovery catalog. So this particular command, when let's say you took the backup by mistake, or the catalog database was not available for some reason, and you took the backup and you want to make sure that particular backup gets updated in the catalog, then you will say Resync catalog. Now that we have understood this, let's understand the final important points. Recovery catalog database is it's like any other database. So make sure you take the backup of that particular database, treat that particular database, because if the recovery catalog database is lost, all of your backup information is also lost. So make sure you back up the recovery catalog database. Do not register two databases with the same DB ID in the recovery catalog. Very important, do not register two databases with the same DB ID in the recovery catalog. So whenever you register the database in the recovery catalog, try to make sure you check the catalog DB ID which is present in the recovery catalog. And when you try to register another database with the same DB ID, it will create an unnecessary function. So that's why you should avoid registering two databases with the same DB ID in the recovery catalog. Now that we have seen everything, let's begin the labs. Now, I got here, I got this white screen and I got here the blue screen, sky blue, whatever you want to call it. Basically, both are connected to the same server, DB1. Uh, in the white screen, I will be performing the commands related to recovery catalog, and in the white screen, I will be connecting to the target databases where I will register the databases, etc., etc. So, in the white screen, recovery catalog. In the blue sky blue screen, the commands related to the target databases. Let's proceed. So here I got three databases. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it on the same server. So I got the database called recovery catalog. This is the database where I will be, this particular database I just created. It's a blank database. It's a fresh database. In this particular database, I'll be setting this particular database as a recovery catalog, and we will register this particular database and this particular database in the recovery catalog. So we will register both of these databases and we will see how they behave. So let's proceed. But the first thing that we need to do is we need to set up our recovery catalog. So let's connect to the RCAT database. Let's connect to the database as sysdba. There are three things that we need to do as the sysdba. So this is the RCAT database. So if I do show con name, you will find this is the RCAT database. And the first thing that we'll do, we'll create a table space. So let's create a table space. That's done. Then we'll create a user, a recovery catalog user. I'm using the same syntax which I showed you in the PPT. So there is no difference. First thing that I did, create a table space. Then I'm creating a user called RCAT and I'm giving the default table space, whatever table space I created here, I'm giving an unlimited quota. So that's done. And the final step is granting the recovery catalog owner to that particular user. That's done. So now let me exit. So our work on the syscat is done. Now let's do something. Let's connect to this particular database as the recovery catalog user. And once we have done this, let's actually run a single query. Let's see if we have a table called recovery catalog underscore database, RC underscore database. Let's see, we have a table called this, and we will not have this particular table because at this moment we have set up the recovery catalog. However, we have not yet created the recovery catalog. And which command would do that? The create catalog command would do that. All these particular tables in this particular schema will be automatically created it will be created when we run the create catalog command. So let's exit. Let's connect to the RMAN, and when we connect using RMAN, remember we have to connect with this particular syntax: RMAN catalog, RCAT password, and the recovery catalog information. Remember we have to use the keyword catalog. So let's enter, and then we are going to say create catalog. So this is the command that we are going to run, and now once we run this particular command, here you can see that this particular table was not present. So recovery catalog created. Let me exit. Let me connect as 6db. Let me connect to that particular database as RCAT user. And now you can see here we got the message table or view does not exist. And when we said create catalog, automatically that particular table got created. However, that particular table says no rows selected. And the reason for that is because as of now, we just created a recovery catalog, but we have not registered any database. So let's go ahead and let's set the environmental variable to, aura19d. That's done. Let's clear the screen and let's connect to the recovery catalog and the target database at the same time. So target/catalog is equal to the recovery catalog and at recovery catalog. So I'm going to connect to the target database and catalog at the same time. And then I'm going to say register database. I'm going to say register database. And what is going to happen is this particular command is going to do two things. It's going to create the entry of this particular database in the recovery catalog. So here you can see, let me clear this particular screen. Here you can see there is no recovery catalog information, there is no recovery catalog database. It's going to do two things. It's going to register this database, and whatever backup information, the backup of this database, if there are any backups, that backup information is going to capture in the recovery catalog. So it's going to do two things for us. So let's run this register database command. Database registered in the recovery catalog, full resync happened, so that looks good. And now if I run exactly same query, you can see we got one database registered in our recovery catalog. Now, what also happened in the background is the backup information about this particular. So if there was any backup of Aura 19D, if there was any backup of Aura 19D, that backup information would also be present in the recovery catalog. Let's run one single backup query. So this is a very simple query. I'm running a query on RMAN status, and I'm selecting the database name, backup type, status, start time, end time. So let's run this simple query on our recovery catalog. And as you can see, let me actually maximize this a little bit. And okay, so that doesn't, it doesn't look good. It's not, I have to format it a little bit more. So let me do something. Let me just pause it for a minute. Let me launch SQL Developer. Yeah, and here I have already set up this particular configuration. So let me show it to you, properties. And here you can see user recovery catalog, the password, and I'm connecting to the recovery catalog. Let me do the test connection. That looks good. Let me connect to that particular database and give it a minute for the prompt to open. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this particular query in the SQL developer so that we can get the proper information. So now you can see we got this Aura 19D full backup completed, and this is the backup information. This particular backup was already present in the control file. I did not take this backup now. This is the old backup which got copied over to the recovery catalog. Right now, I'm connected to the recovery catalog. If I want to show it to you, what database I'm connected. So if I say show con name, you will be able to find that I'm connected to the recovery catalog. So you can see I'm connected to the recovery catalog, and here we can get this information. Now, what we will do, we will try to take another backup of this particular database while we are connecting to the recovery. So we have just done the register database. Let's try to take the another backup. So I've initiated another backup. Let's wait for this backup to finish. So give it a few seconds for this particular backup to finish. Give it another few seconds. And that's done. And let's exit. And now if we go here and let's try to find what backup information we have got in the recovery catalog, we can see that we got another backup information, another backup row. This is the backup that we just took. So this is the backup, and it has registered that particular backup information in our recovery catalog. That looks good. So using the recovery catalog, we can get the backup information. Now let's understand what happens. Let's understand what happens if we try to take the backup of the database without connecting to the recovery catalog. So I do not know. I press exit. So let me connect to that particular session. Give it a, let me make it a little bit big. For some reason, I exited from that session. So let me set the environmental variable to Aura 19D, and let's try to see if we have got. Yes, we have got. And what we will do, we will, instead of connecting to a catalog, we'll say we'll just connect to the target database. And now I'll take a backup of the database. Now this particular backup information will not be present in the recovery catalog because we took this particular backup without connecting. We took this backup without connecting to the catalog. So catalog database does not know about this backup, and I'll show it to you in a minute. Let this backup complete. And that backup got completed. And let me exit from this particular backup. And let me go to the recovery catalog and try to see, and you can see it still has only 2 rows. The backup that we just took, that particular backup information is not present in the recovery catalog. How do you fix this issue? It's pretty simple. You just reconnect to the target database and catalog once the catalog is available, and you run a command, a simple command called Resync catalog. And this particular command is going to sync the control file information into the catalog. So now if I run the backup information, we should be able to see that we got the third backup, the backup that was not registered in the recovery catalog. That particular backup information came into the recovery catalog. So this is the concept of the resync of the catalog. So we learned how to register the database. We learned how to take the backup of the database when the catalog is available. We learned how to take the backup of the database when the catalog was not available, but how to update that information into the catalog by using the resync command. Now, what I wanted to show you is I wanted to show how we can get the backup information about other databases. So let's register one more database. So I got another database here. So let's register one more database here. And what we'll do, we will connect to the target database and we will just say register database. And when we do this particular query, as of now, we got, if I run this particular previous query, how many databases we had? Let me take that query. And we had only one database registered in our recovery catalog. So what a query I'm running? I'm running a query on recovery catalog underscore database, RC underscore database. And as of now, only one database is registered. I have connected to the second database called Aura19C and I'm saying register database. So let's register this particular database and database register in recovery catalog. And if I run exactly same query now, you can see we got two databases in the recovery catalog. And if I try to now get the backup information, if there was any backup of Aura19C, that particular information will also be present in this particular recovery catalog. So let's run that. And now you can see we got the backup information about Oracle 19C. And why this row came in between? Because I said, give me the backup when based on the start time descending. So that's why the backup came here. But you can see we got now the backup information. So using this very simple, and you can see this query, this is nothing fancy. It's a straightforward select query on RC RMAN status, operation is equal to backup, and it gives us the backup information about each and every database, when, what kind of backup it was completed, start time, end time, etc. So this is a pretty nice feature of your recovery catalog. Now, before I proceed, I want to show you one more thing. If I want to unregister the database, now I no longer want this particular database in the recovery catalog. How do I do that? The command is pretty simple. You connect to the target and catalog, and you just run a simple command unregister database, no prompt. And this particular command is going to delete the information. So database name Aura19C is been unregistered. And now if I run this particular query, you will see that Aura19C backup information is no longer present. Let's run this query and you can see Aura19C backup information is no longer present. Or if I run this query, what are the databases which are registered? And now you can see Aura19C is gone. So that is the concept of unregistering the database from the recovery catalog. Now, the one of the most important features of your recovery catalog is it allows you to restore and recover the loss of control file. So let's proceed and let's see that as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect to the Aura19C. So let's connect to Aura19C. This is the final part of this lab. So Aura19D. So let's connect to this particular database. And here what I'll do, I'll run this simple query. So let me host clear. And what I'm going to see, I'm going to actually delete the control files. I'm going to delete both of the control files. So let me run this simple query, select name from VDollar control files. So these are my two control files. I'm going to delete both of these control files. So let me remove the first control file. Let me remove the second control file. So that's done. Now, if I want to prove that those both are gone. So let's say alter system archive log current, and you can see the control file is no longer present. If I try to do the clean shutdown, I won't be able to do the clean shutdown because the control file is literally lost. So you can see control file is lost. So now if I say exit, so why did I do exit? I actually have to do the shut abort because I can't do the clean shutdown. So let me say shut abort. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to I'm going to now try to recover this database. So now the control files are gone literally. And what we can actually do is like we can go to this particular location also to verify if the control files are present. So let's go to that particular location, CD, and you will be able to see that there are no control files. As you can see, we got redo log file, sysog system, but there is no control files. So what we will do, we will connect to the recovery catalog. But before doing that, we have shut down the database. So let's start the database in the no mount stage, because to recover the control files, we need to start the database in the no mount state. So let's say SQL plus as sysdba, and we'll do startup no mount. We can't do the startup. So let's try to do the startup. It will fail because it will go into the no mount stage, but it won't go in the mount state because there is no control file. Error in identifying control file. So it can't go into the mount stage, which means it can't go in the open stage. So let's now, the database is in the no mount stage, and what we'll do, we'll connect to the target and the catalog. So we'll connect to the target and catalog. We'll set the DB ID, and from where we got the DB ID, we got the DB ID, whatever DB ID is here, 706, we'll set that DB ID. So we'll set the DB ID, and you can see database name is Aura19D. So based on the DB ID, it found the database name, which is Aura19D. That's the database that we want to restore the control file. We will say restore control file. So just one command, we'll say restore control file, and it will pull the information from the recovery catalog, and it will restore the control file in exactly same location. So you can see in the DBD Aura data Aura19 control 01 and control 02 got restored. Now that control file is restored, let's mount the database. Let's recover the database. Let's open the database in the reset logs mode. And let's verify if our database is in the open mode. And you can see we have successfully opened the database. And just for proof, let's exit, clear, and ls-l, and you can see we got both of our control files which were not present. So the recovery catalog helps us to restore from the control file. If both of the control files are lost, we will still be able to recover our control file using the recovery catalog. That is the beauty of your using the recovery catalog. So in this particular tutorial, we learned how to create the recovery catalog. We learned how to register the database, what are the advantages of recovery catalog, how to register the database, how to unregister the database, how to resync the database, and how to restore the database when the catalog control files are lost. I hope you like this particular tutorial. Thank you for watching. If you do like the tutorial, if you do like the videos that I'm uploading, do hit the like button, do hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and see you in next tutorial. Till then, bye bye.